There are exactly 3 things you don't do in our town. Mess with the Friday chili cook-off, cut across Old Man Callahan's corn maze before harvest, and open the Whitaker family barn without permission, especially not when Grandpa Earls had his black coffee, loaded his .22, and is halfway through reading the Constitution out loud to the cows. The HOA patrol didn't get that memo. At 8:42 a.m., on a Wednesday that smelled like rain and unfinished business, I watched Diane from the HOA and her clipboard-wielding partner Mitch creep across our gravel driveway like raccoons in khakis. They wore matching polos with Clearfield Ridge Community Oversight Committee stitched on the chaste and ironic name for a subdivision that hadn't seen a sunset since the Fultons bulldozed the old willows to improve curb appeal. Diane squinted at the barn like it owed her money. I was live-streaming a yoga session with our goats when she made a beeline for the side door. "No trespassing, y'all," I called out, phone still in hand. Mitch gave me the kind of smile you reserve for toddlers or people holding chainsaws. "Just checking on a code compliance issue," he said, stepping right over the painted warning sign Grandpa nailed up in '92. It read, "Private property. Enter and meet Jesus. He's got questions." That's when everything changed. Grandpa stepped out from behind the tractor like a desert ghost, wearing a full set of army fatigues and chewing the same unlit cigar he'd been threatening to quit since the Reagan years. He didn't raise his voice, didn't point a weapon. He just walked to the barn door, gave it a once-over, and shut it with a calm, deliberate clang. Then he dropped the iron latch and spun the padlock shut like he was locking up after Sunday service. Inside, muffled voices rose to muffled yells. Mitch pounded on the door, demanding release in the name of the HOA charter. Grandpa turned, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "Jess, go call the sheriff. I just detained 2 armed bureaucrats without probable cause." "Are they armed?" I asked. "Spiritually," he said. By the time Sheriff Clay arrived in his dust-covered SUV, the neighborhood buzzed like a beehive on espresso. Mrs. Vanderpool from 3 plots over was recording on her iPad. 2 middle schoolers rode by on bikes yelling, "Barn Heist 2025. Sheriff Clay stepped out of the car rubbing his temples. This was the same man who once had to mediate a dispute involving a rogue alpaca and a runaway bounce house. But even for him, this was new. "What the hell did you do, Earl?" he asked. "Prevented an unlawful search and seizure," Grandpa replied, arms folded like a constitutional scarecrow. "They're HOA, not the FBI. Same difference when they ain't got a warrant," he said. Something banged inside the barn. Not a foot or a fist. Something heavy being dropped. Everyone went still. Even the cows quit chewing. "There's something in there," Diane screamed. "It moved. It moved." Grandpa didn't flinch. "Then maybe y'all shouldn't have gone in." To be fair, this wasn't our family's first run-in with Clearfield Ridge HOA. The Oversight Committee had been at odds with us ever since Grandpa installed solar panels using World War II-era radio towers. They didn't like his flagpole being too tall, his chicken coop too noisy, or his wind chime collection that apparently triggered existential dread. But nothing drove them crazier than the barn. No one had been inside except Grandpa, me, and a very confused FedEx driver who never spoke again. Even I hadn't been past the first room. It had 3 padlocks, lead-lined walls, and a single overhead light Grandpa only turned on after checking the sky. "Ain't paranoia if they really did test weather machines in the '70s, he once told me. Sheriff Clay scratched the back of his neck. "Earl, what's in that barn?" "I'll open it," Grandpa said. "After my coffee. And once you confirm what law these HOA folks thought they were enforcing." Mitch's voice came muffled from inside. "There are stairs leading down. What the hell is this place?" "I think there's something under the tarp," Diane added. Grandpa's eye twitched. Clay stepped back. "What's under the tarp, Earl?" "You don't want to know." "I think I do." "No," Grandpa said. "You think you should." Big difference. That's when I made the dumbest decision of my 17-year-old life. I snuck to the side of the barn and opened the TikTok app. It felt historic, like standing at the edge of a weird, terrifying secret. I angled my phone through a knothole in the wall. It was dark, but I could make out Mitch staring at a long metal object under a beige canvas. Diane had her phone flashlight on. "I think it's a," she began. Then the tarp moved. Diane screamed. Mitch backpedaled, tripped over a bucket, and fell flat on his back. The barn plunged into darkness. My live feed went black. Notifications exploded. Apparently, HA officers uncover Area 51 in barn, get locked inside was the kind of headline the internet adored. Outside, Sheriff Clay went pale. Grandpa finally sipped his coffee. You'll really ought to consider mindin' your own business. The air above the barn shimmered like heat waves. Something deep inside me said, you weren't supposed to see this. Jess, Grandpa said. Go unplug the weather vane. The one with the blinking light? Yeah. That one. I knew the one. It hadn't blinked in years. Why? Because if that signal goes out, they're gonna come looking. For the first time, I realized Grandpa wasn't just eccentric. He was hiding something. And the HOA had just kicked the damn hornet's nest. The barn had gone too quiet. Clay stood 5 feet from the door, hand near his holster. Grandpa leaned on a post, sipping coffee like it was just another Wednesday. Meanwhile, my video from earlier had gone viral. Barngate was trending. One guy in Arizona offered to turn our property into a paranormal Airbnb. Another swore we were harboring a decommissioned military android. Only thing more dangerous than secrets is people trying to monetize Grandpa muttered. Inside the barn, Mitch shouted, there's something down here. We found a trapdoor, lights are flickering, and the floor is humming. Diane added, I might have touched something. Grandpa straightened. What did you touch? I thought it was a fuse box. Might have been a control panel. Grandpa swore. They powered it up. Clay blinked. Powered what up? The vault, Grandpa said. A classified prototype bunker built by 2 paranoid brothers and a suspicious amount of army surplus. You have a bunker? Had Grandpa said. Until 5 minutes ago. Then he put a hand on my shoulder. If this goes sideways, grab the blue folder from under the sink and run to the Sanders place. They have a working radio. That's oddly specific. So is the trouble comin' our way, he replied. The barn doors glowed faintly. The whine leveled into a hum. Some backed away. Others crept closer. I found the feed bin, flipped it, and yanked a block of tech out from under a tarp. The moment I disconnected the cables, the hum stopped. Then Diane screamed. Not a regular scream. The kind that makes your spine curl. Sheriff Clay unlocked the barn. Mitch and Diane stumbled out, pale and shaking. There's a chamber downstairs, Mitch gasped. With monitors and a cryo tank. Grandpa exhaled. He's still in there? Clay asked, who? My brother, Grandpa said. He's alive. And then, as if summoned by fate, the first black SUV rolled in. No tags. No dust. Just matte black and intent. 3 more followed, forming a blockade around our land. Nobody got out. My phone buzzed with millions of views. People thought it was a hoax. But what lay beneath our barn wasn't CGI. It was blood and truth. Grandpa stared at the SUVs like an old sickness had come home. He walked to the barn. I followed. The cryotank's glass showed a man's face, young. Familiar. Grandpa's twin. They're not here for the HOA, he said. They're here for him. Billy Whitaker. Part of a Cold War program called Project Loom. Remote data extraction, behavioral prediction. He found out too much. They tried to erase him. Grandpa froze him to protect the truth. Boots crunched gravel. A man in a gray suit approached. We're here for Earl Whitaker, he said. You'll need to be more specific, Clay replied. We have jurisdiction. Show me paperwork. There won't be any. Then there won't be cooperation. I stepped out recording. This is live. 7 million viewers. You make a move, you're not just erasing a man. You're erasing evidence. The agents hesitated. They backed off. Then the barn lights flickered again. Billy's vitals climbed. His eyes fluttered open. Grandpa looked at me. If I don't make it, get this to someone who still gives a damn. I nodded. Billy woke up. Looked at us. Mouth moved. I swear he said one word. Run. But we didn't. We stood our ground. Because the truth had awakened. And some things, once exposed, don't go back into the dark without a fight.